Just because people aren't good to you doesn't mean you shouldn't be good to people.
Facts.
Hey y'all,
What's up, y'all?
I'm Elise,
I'm Will.
and this is
Team Tatum.
Team Tatum. Today, we are reviewing another movie off of the 1001 Movies You Must Watch Before You Die list. And this movie is 1958's The Defiant Ones. This crime drama film tells about two chained together escaped convicts who, one's black and one's white, and they have to learn how to work together in order to elude being captured.
Again.
Yeah, they got captured once, hence why they in prison. You can't get captured again.
Fool me once. Shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
This stars Tom Curtis and the Sidney Poitier.
It stars Sidney Poitier and Tom Curtis.
That's right. Yes, in black and white. Starts off with them locked up in the back of a van, getting transported. Well, not a van, but prison escort, getting taken
The wagon.
to prison. And Sidney Poitier starts off being the most annoying person ever.
Most annoying.
Singing this song like this. It's not a Negro spiritual, but
Just an
it's
old
the
song.
old song. But he butchers that song.
So machine. That's all I can remember from the song.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Sewing machine, so fast. So 11 stitches in a little cat's tail.
And the song.
Unnecessarily. When is that ever needed, actually?
But I think it's how the song goes, though. But that song should be burned in the deepest furnace.
Freestyling.
No, that's
not freestyling as in making up the song, but freestyling his own style
rendition
of the song.
Yeah. But as one normal person would, everybody gets annoyed with him and tells him to shut up, and he's like, "I'm already going to prison. What you gonna do to me?"
Make me shut up.
So he keeps on singing. And he's chained to Tom Curtis, who I had never seen or heard of before. You?
No, but apparently he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I looked at, and he's been in a lot of stuff, afterwards.
Yeah, stuff that we've seen.
But I don't know that cat.
Yeah.
But it's essentially what happens is how the movie gets started is they're in the back of the van or whatever, and somebody runs off the road in front of them, and they're going over a bridge, and they have to swerve to avoid them, and they go over the bridge, and they get out. Yeah. Just like
people going to jail do what people going to jail do when a chance to escape happens.
Right. So they get out and run. So they're, it's an escape deal, and they're chained up for
basically the
majority
movie.
of the movie.
Yeah.
And even though they both have a common goal, is 1958. Was it actually 1958 in the movie?
I think it was supposed to be present day in the movie.
Okay.
They were just out in the country.
So Joker, Tony Curtis's character, and Cullen, Sidney's character, though they have the same goal, Tony is like, Joker. I call him Joker. Joker is basically like, I don't want to be chained to you.
Because he's black.
Because he's black. And Cullen's like, I don't want to be chained to you either, or anybody for that matter, but we gotta go.
Yeah, he's like, and it's not because you're white. I just don't want to be chained to nobody.
I just don't want to be chained to nobody. So he has the goal in mind. He's like, I'm trying to bounce. I'm trying to not get recaptured. But Joker is steady, like, trying to be like, well, I do all the thinking. I'm the lead boy, calling him boy. Oh,
ooh,
so before they had this accident that freed them, though he was rightfully angry at Cullen for singing this horrible song, he called him a nigga, and that sent
With the hard R.
yeah with the hard R, and sent Cullen into a rage, and but they quieted that down real quick.
They said they're not gonna fight until after they get unchained, to not waste time and or hurt themselves to not be able to escape.
Yeah. But he's still like just poking at him and jabbing him or whatever. Like even like they get cigarettes somehow. I forget how they got cigarettes, but
They already had them on them.
Cullen passes Joker the cigarette and he like pinches off the end of it and then smokes it.
Yeah,
And he's like,
"I'm not
"What?"
Smoking after you.
And it was like, "You still smoked it though." But Cullen is like, "Oh, you don't want to smoke after me or whatever." And they had a whole conversation. But basically, it's a lot of bumbling around of Joker just being a white man at the time, which is just
It was a movie of race relations and overcoming those race relations.
yeah. It's like if you're an escaped convict, you would think your racial like differences would be the last thing on your mind. Like first thing is let's make sure we don't get caught. But no, which I appreciate. Like I wasn't mad at it because it was accurate to the times, but it was still like, come on, bro, you got to get your priorities in straight.
Yeah, like it didn't always get in the way, but it did get in the way. Like they would work together enough to get out of whatever sticky situation, and then once they got out, then it came back.
Right. So they're on the run or whatever. Bring in a new character, this sheriff, who they depict as not being racist. He's just trying to do his job. Meanwhile, the local police force and random rednecks who just
Town
out
folk.
to get blood are trying to capture them and probably kill
Yeah,
Sydney's
hunting them
character.
with man-eating dogs, as they call them,
Yeah.
Doberman pinchers.
Well, they had the hound dogs. They had the
Just
hound
to
to
find
find
them.
them. But then he also had these like 2 or 3 Dobermans, which apparently were new around this time.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheriff is like, "What are those dogs?" And he told him, like she said, they're man eaters or whatever. And he was like, "Well, keep them on the leash.
He's like, we don't need that.
Yeah, keep them in the cage. Don't let them out until I tell you to let them out. And if you let them out before, I'm gonna punch you in the face." So the sheriff is cool. He's doing his job or whatever, right? So he's the antagonist in this, but he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad guy, but that
He's
doesn't make
mean
him bad guy.
But that sheriff is 100% bad guy, and they're chasing him. So there's a guy with a radio, and fun fact, the only music in the movie comes from that radio.
Mm-hmm.
There's no score or anything. It's just when he turns his radio. Well, it's Sydney singing, and that guy's radio is the only music in the whole movie, and that guy is played by none other than
Alfalfa.
Alfalfa from the Little Rascals.
The original
Little
Alfalfa,
Rascals.
all growed up.
We didn't know that at the time. We found it out
Yeah.
later. We're not huge Little Rascals fans, but it's a running gag throughout the movie that he starts playing his radio, and then they tell him to turn that mess off because he blasted it.
Eventually, they don't even have to say it anymore.
They
It's
just
just
look at him.
music playing, and they turn their head, like going to look at him. He just
So they going back to Cullen and Joker. They find a rock, try to beat the chain off. That don't work. Joker winds up messing up his wrist in the process, and it starts raining on them. They gotta sleep at night out in the open and the elements. They catching colds and whatnot. They come across this raging river and are doing a decent job until they get like 3/4 of the way across, and then Cullen slips and off they
away
go
they go.
down the river. Turns out most of that is them. For real. There is one shot that they did where it's a dummy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're on record for being like, this is the worst day of acting I've ever done in my life. Now, why they agreed to it, I don't know. But they legit go down this river 4 ways, and Joker gets out, and they're chained together. And it's a pretty long chain. Like, it's a movie length chain, so they're not, like, super close to each other. It's convenient for the movie of how long the chain is. But Joker is able to, like, get to the edge of some rocks and slowly pull himself out of the river. Meanwhile, Cullen, drowning still, and he pulls him out, and Cullen's like, thanks for saving me. And he was like, thanks. I wasn't saving you. I was keeping you from pulling me in. And he's like, don't say that word, thanks. Like, I don't like the word thanks. That means, like, I forgot what he said exactly.
Basically something about him being lower than other people. Like, they were able to give you something that you couldn't get yourself, so you have to thank them for it. And they use that against you, hold it over your head.
Yeah.
For you to say thanks to them, so he doesn't say thanks.
Yeah, he had issues. Aside from racism, that man just had issues. But they eventually run up on a boy, like a little boy, and he, pulls his little hunting rifle on him. It's 1958. Every boy had a rifle. And they tell him, like, it's cool, like, we're not going to hurt you.
He did the opposite of what you teach your children to do when they meet a stranger. That's what this little boy did.
Yeah. But he lets, even though he got the rifle, he ain't about that life for real. So they get close enough to him to knock the rifle out of his hand. And funny enough, the boy hides behind, once the rifle gets knocked out of his hand, he hides behind Joker, the white guy, and pleads to Cullen, the black guy, to not hurt him. Like, don't hurt him. Don't hurt me.
Didn't something happen in Cullen basically saved him or something right before then? And that's why it was so much like, why would you hide behind that man? This is the one that helped you just now.
Maybe.
I can't remember exactly. Either way, it was why are you hiding
why
behind
are you
him?
hiding? Both of us convicts. Like, obviously we chained together or whatever. And at this point, that's when, like, Joker's coming around to being like, this guy's not such a bad guy. So he tells the kid, like, he's not going to hurt you, take us to your house or whatever. And
they were like, he was like, you live around here? Yeah. You got a daddy at home? No. Who live at your house? Just me and my mama? Y'all by yourself? Yeah. Take us there. All right.
Yeah,
It's like...
he gave up all the juice. It was like, man, like she said, everything you teach your kid not to do, he did. So he brings them to the house. The mom is like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And the boy is like, found him in the woods. And she, lets him in the house. Ain't worried about her son at all.
She was in very much a man mode, though, with Joker.
Yeah, so she hiding heavy for Joker. Not even hiding it.
Immediately.
And I was like, man, you ain't seen nobody in forever. Like, where y'all live at? For you to see a escaped convict, obviously, and be like, va-va-voom. But she treats, Cullen like
poorly,
like dirt, and Joker's like, hey,
like,
you feed him too, because they had asked for food, and she only gave Joker a plate, and he was like, he gets to eat too, or whatever, and she's like, and gave him the plate, and like she offered Cullen coffee, and again she didn't offer any of the. I'm sorry, Joker
coffee,
and didn't offer any to Cullen.
Give him coffee too. He was like, yes.
Yeah. You gave him food, give him coffee
Whatever
too.
you offering me, offer to him too.
And they asked for some tools. Finally get free of the chain or whatnot. Joker's still pretty messed up, and his arm's still pretty jacked up, and he's got like a cold because of the sleeping out in the rain and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I think his the cut on his wrist got infected too.
Yeah.
Which added on to his sickness.
I think he's getting like a fever and all that. So, of course, she's, the mom is just like, this is my chance to get in. Like, so she is tending to him and trying to woo him at the same time or whatever. And Joker, like, he sees it and he's torn. He's like, on one hand, I'm like, It's a woman.
I have been in jail.
But on the other hand, he was like, obviously this woman crazy.
But what'd he do? What men do? Gave in.
When Cullen falls asleep, she takes the gun away from him and is gonna turn on him or whatever. But Joker stops her and is like, leave that man alone or whatever. He ain't done nothing to you since we've been here. He ain't done nothing to me. He cool or whatever. We gonna be out of your hair soon. So he winds up falling asleep because, like I said, he's.
Yeah. Oh, and at this point, they finally got separated. They got some tools out of the barn at the lady's house and broke the chains off. And so now she's really like, sorry.
No,
she's really like, why are you still with him? Like, get rid of him. Y'all not connected anymore. You don't have to be with him anymore. He's like, he's a good man. He's helped me this whole time, and I helped him. Blah, blah, blah. She was like, I don't get it, but whatever. As long as I'm getting some.
Right. So, again, it keeps cutting back and forth with the sheriff and the law enforcement guys and the rednecks looking for him. And they keep, they are on the trail. Like, those dogs are some grade A hunting dogs. But she tells Cullen, Sydney's character, he can go this direction and he'll get, safe haven or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Basically to get him out of the way. And Joker's asleep at this time. So when Joker wakes up, he's like, yo, where's Cullen? And she's like, I sent him off.
Basically to die.
To die. Like, he won't be a problem for us anymore. We can live together now. Like, she ready to get married.
And they were literally there no longer than 2 days.
Yeah. Like, she is all about Joker. And he's like, if you send him out that way, like, they gonna catch him. And she was like, so? They ain't got nothing to do with us and our love. And he was like, love? Get out of here. So he goes after him, and she's like, "But baby," like she crazy.
But you forgot when he left, the little boy shot him.
Oh yeah. So the boy is cool with his mom. This boy is like the worst son ever. The second time I guess he's the best son ever since he protected her. But he, when he realized this chick crazy, he is, like I said, it's like, get away from me. I'm about to go get, Cullen or whatever. And the boy's like, get away from my mom. Bow. Shoots him. And he doesn't shoot him fatally, but back then you got shot if you didn't get immediate.
It could have been fatal back then.
Yeah, you didn't get immediate medical help. You died from the infection or whatever. So he runs off. Eventually runs into Cullen, who was cool or whatever. Like, he wasn't worried about it, but Joker tells him what the lady did or whatever. He's like, we need to go back this way, yada yada. Turns out the search party
caught up with him.
But they wind up evading them again and get to this. Oh no, wait, that happened before.
That town.
Yeah.
I
My
thought
bad.
we were just gonna skip it.
No, my bad. So before they got unchained, they made it to a town late at night. It was a super small town, like maybe 8 families live there or whatever, right?
Like a village. Basically.
Yeah, like a village. And they was gonna break into one of the stores
they were
and
really hungry.
get some food. And so they successfully sneak into the store, but it's pitch black out there.
And they climbed in from the roof, so they had to jump down. And first, the store was smart, since there is a hole in the roof. They had pots on the beam on the roof. Mm-hmm. So if somebody did come in, they'd hit the pot, which is like an alarm. And then it was stuff under it. So if you fell, you were going to fall on it. That might not have been part of their alarm plan, but the pots on the top was a good idea to me.
Yeah. So because of their makeshift alarm system, the town woke up and was like, somebody's in the store. And they try to hide, try to run, doesn't work. They catch them, right? And they gon' beat both of them. But then they see that Cullen's there, and it's like, oh, you black? We gonna lynch you. Yeah. But then, like I said, at this point, Joker is kind of standing up for Cullen.
Remember, this is when they were gonna lynch both of them, and then Joker was like, "You can't do that to me. I'm white."
Oh yeah, he did say that. And they were like, You're right. You're right.
We'll just beat you up real bad.
Yeah, we still gonna beat you up for stealing, but we ain't gonna lynch you. So they were about to lynch him, and then like one of the important people in the town is like, hey, let's not do this tonight. Let's wait till in the morning or whatever. And so he tells them to just lock him up in this other building, and we'll do it in the morning. So they do that. Some time goes by, like maybe an hour or so, and that guy comes into the building. He sneaks in there. It turns out he too is an ex-convict that's been, living on the lam in this village. And he was like, from convict to convict, I'm gonna let y'all go. But don't tell nobody I helped you or whatever. Yada yada yada.
Say you got out of this by yourself.
Yeah. So he lets them out, and they get free. That's how they get to the boy and his mom. But the search party winds up tracking them yet again to this village, and they're like, your story don't add up. Y'all say they broke out, but there's no sign of forced,
Yeah, it's forced entry.
It's
from
forced
the
entry.
outside.
Because the ex-convict who helped them broke into, because they had locked the building up. He broke the lock and got up in there. They were like, it came from the outside. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
They're like, if you killed these fools, you better tell us right now before we find out.
I don't know. But anyway, they let them go, and luckily old boy don't get found out for being the next convict himself. Then we fast forward into the whole boy, mom, them leaving the boy and the mom. So once again, the search party catches up with them. They evade them some, and then what happened next?
So after that happened, this is when Joker is shot. He caught up with Cullen. They were still trying to run, but Joker is like too weak to do anything at this point because he's shot. He's still sick. Like, she got him to feeling better, but he was still sick, and he just going through it. And Cullen was trying to pull him along the way. It was getting too hard, and they could hear the dogs at this point, so they're close. And they basically was like, we had a good run. Like, remember, they made it to the train that they were supposed to be getting to go somewhere else. But when they were running to try to get on the train,
Cullen made it on.
on. Joker just was right out of the reach to be able to grab it. He was too weak to run fast enough to catch up.
Couldn't make it.
So Cullen jumped
off to be with his good buddy. And Joker was like, why would you do that? And I was like, look, man, we already done been through all this stuff together, and have proven time and time again that I'm a decent person. Just because I was going to prison doesn't mean I'm an awful person.
Yeah, so he wasn't going to leave him when he was basically dying.
Dying, yeah. Infection running through his body.
So they're sitting. Cullen is like holding Joker up. They're both on the ground. Joker's laid out in front of Cullen, and Cullen's holding him like this, like cradling him almost.
Like a baby.
And singing that song again.
Oh.
Put me in the pen. If I ever do see his face once more, he never get home again. That judge be long gone to Kentucky. Long gone, don't mean maybe. Long gone, what I mean. A long gone judge on a bowling green.
At first he was singing it down low, but then he started singing it louder so they could find him, so Joker
could get
help. And when they did catch him, the sheriff was like, y'all did some pretty good escaping. I actually wouldn't have even caught y'all if you weren't singing that stupid song so loud. He was like, did it on purpose. He didn't say that, but it was like, my plan worked, basically. And you found us, and my friend can live. Though I am pretty sure Joker would not have done the same thing. But just because people aren't good to you doesn't mean you shouldn't be good to people.
Facts. And then roll credits.
Yeah. It literally went off right there.
Yeah. There was nothing else. It was just like, we started with that terrible song. We ended with that terrible song. So yeah, your led to believe that after the credits rolled, the Joker did get medical help and lived, and that Cullen.
They went back to prison.
Yeah, and they went back to prison. Hopefully Cullen didn't die.
Yeah.
But
The good sheriff was there, so I don't think he would have let them do anything to him. Now, what happened after he got back to prison?
I'm talking about in prison. Yeah, I knew the sheriff wouldn't do nothing to him. But yeah, once he got to prison, they were going. R.I.P. Cullen.
Who's to say?
But yeah, so what did you think about the Defiant Ones?
I liked it. It made me mad at some points, just because of racial tension and that kind of stuff. It was like, oh, you just gonna say that to me in my face and think I'm not fixing to do something about it? But different times. Though he didn't let people belittle him or anything. Like when they did use racial slurs or anything like that, he
checked him real quick.
Yeah.
He was real laid back, but you went too far. He'd be like, look.
Gator don't play no shit. You feel me? Gator never been about that. Never been about playing no shit.
Playing no games.
Yeah, I did really like it. It kept the action. It wasn't action, but it was action at the same time. And
pace was
kept
good.
the pace well. And them interacting with the few people they did run into along the way was interesting. That lady, I still can't believe. Like,
super crazy.
She was like, my husband's been gone for 3 weeks or something like that. Not even a long time. Just like, and I need a man here with me to raise my boy.
I think he ran away.
Yeah, he left her.
He was like, you are crazy.
And I see why now. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it other than I liked it. I want to see it remade in current day.
So there is a remake of it with Carl Weathers, and I can't think of who plays Joker.
I want to see it made more current.
More currently? Yeah, it was made in I think it was the 80s. Yeah. They redid it, but yeah.
What did you think?
I liked it. Was it anything spectacular? No, but it was good to see one of Sydney's earlier works.
Yeah, it was young Sydney.
Like young Sydney. I've seen him, as a fully grown man and all that, but seeing him super young. This is before Look Who's Coming to Dinner. Mm-hmm. Which I think I read in the trivia that he got that role based off of how good he did in this, and that people were like, if I'm gonna see a black person on the movie screen, I'm gonna see that black guy. Because the original person, I forgot who it was, but the original person they asked to be Joker was like, and it was somebody who was like prominent at the time, but they asked him to do the role, and he read the script. He was like, no white man would be chained to a black man. And
they said 58. That in the movie, though. They were like, you got a white man chained to a black man?
But he was the only one. Like, you gotta chain him to somebody.
That's what they said in the movie. They were like, these are the last 2 people left, and they gotta be chained to somebody, so.
Yeah. But yeah, he turned down the role because of that.
That ain't logical.
And then someone else turned it down, and they were just flat out like, I'm not doing a movie with a black guy. So Tony Curtis was the one who was like, I'll do it. But I like the pacing was good. The acting was good. It was basically Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier the whole time. Like, not the whole time, but a good chunk of the time.
Them. And then every now and then you saw the crew coming
the hunting
after
party.
them. Yeah.
And then the scene in the village, and then Mama and the boy. But those were like small sections of the movie, so it was mostly them,
Man
running
versus
away.
Nature, basically.
And I was like, man, it's one thing to be out in nature by itself, but then to be chained to somebody else, it was crazy.
They fell in a hole at one point, a muddy hole, and had to climb up out of that as a team. That was interesting to watch.
Oh, no, they didn't fall. They jumped in that piece.
Trying to hide.
Yeah, so they heard somebody coming, and it wasn't the search party, it was just somebody like driving by in a truck. And Sydney saw this hole and was just like, go! And Joker's like, what? Like, imagine being chained to somebody, and they just be like, go as they're running, and you don't know what's happening. So he basically yanks them, and then this dude leaps into this hole. Now we, as the person watching the movie, can't see how deep this hole is, and technically, they couldn't either.
It was like 2 people deep.
Yeah,
Basically.
Because they essentially had to stand on each other's shoulders to get up out that thing. But that's how long the chain was. Also, when I was talking about the chain is like conveniently long. It was long enough for one person to stand, allow the other person to get up on their shoulders, and reach up to the top and climb out. But I was like, maybe that was soft in there, but y'all should have broke y'all kneecaps, your ankles, something, when y'all fell off in there. Especially Joker, since he essentially got pulled in there.
Yeah. That is when he hurt himself, though, when they were trying to get out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good depiction of the time, which is always interesting, looking at it from, today's eyes, and it was accurate. Like I don't like it when they try to make stuff PC or whatever. It's like, look, it was the time.
Yeah.
It
This
is
what was going down then.
Yeah, like that. I would rather it would make, like she said, there were parts where it kind of got under your skin as a black person watching it, but I'd rather have that under my skin and have a real feeling of what people were going through than to just be entertained.
Yeah.
And
that get
cut out. Because I hate like revisionist history, or just I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. It's like, look, bad stuff happened, but it happened. Like, you can't do nothing about it. You can learn from it and not repeat that. But if you don't, like the saying goes, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it, kind of deal. So, I know we both don't mind watching older things. I know a lot of black people don't like watching like slave movies or movies back before civil rights and all that stuff. But I mean, that's history.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool to see an old school Sydney movie. I liked it. I didn't love it. Like, it wasn't crazy. Where I was like, man, somebody's got to watch this. But
it was entertaining.
It was entertaining. It was entertaining. I think it should be on the list, not because I liked it per se, but because, like I said, it is an accurate depiction of that time frame, and I think it was the first black and white.
Yeah, lead duo.
Yeah, lead, and it did a good job of depicting what a black and white like team up would be in 1958. So, and it basically further flourished Sydney's career or whatever, right?
Helped him become who he became.
Yeah. Because Look Who's Coming to Dinner is another important movie that happened, and he got it because of this film. So, unfortunately, Tony Curtis didn't have such a blow up. Like, he still continued to work. He continued to work, but I don't think his name was.
Yes, it was actually.
Household name like that.
Back then it was.
In my book.
He was working until he passed away.
So you're agreeing that it could be on the list, or no?
Yes.
Yes. All right. What would you give the Defiant Ones?
I will give the Defiant Ones 3.5.
Oh snap!
Cowboy Ninjas out of 5.
I would give the Defiant Ones 3 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5. No half. Which is an average of
3.25 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5.
Correct. Anything else?
First things first, obey your thirst, Sprite.
So no. Thank you for watching another Team Tatum review of the 1001 movies you must watch before you die, where we tell you what we think about whether or not that should be on that list.
And tell you the entire movie.
Yeah. So you don't have to watch it. But just in case you do, tell us about it. Let us know. We like comments. Let us get some feedback going on. Anyway, catch you on the next episode of Team Tatum.
I dance with it every morning.